Hello and welcome to Time to Talk. Thank you for joining us for the second part of our multi-episode adventure into the discussion of the letter Emotional Sobriety. Please look below for links to a reading of the letter, the first discussion episode, and a link to the letter itself. We're joining this conversation already in progress, and if you're following along with the Emotional Sobriety letter, we begin today with the fourth paragraph. How to translate a right mental conviction into a right emotional result, and so into easy, happy, and good living. Well, that's not only the neurotic's problem, it's the problem of life itself for all of us who have got to the point of real willingness to hew to right principles in all of our affairs.
There's a few sentences that say a whole bunch.
That's a mouthful. The right mental conviction, so I want to do the right thing, into a right emotional result is how I'm going to feel about it, as I'm doing it, as I'm leading up to it. For me, there's usually some trepidation and fear leading into it, and then a lot of that is relieved as I'm doing it, and then the result is joy. I have found myself weeping, being thankful for what I was so afraid of and has transpired to become the most joyous of occasions. And it goes on to say, a very powerful sentence, well, that's not only the neurotic's problem, it's the problem of life itself. So it's not just for those who appear to be nuts. It's of life in general. It's just in life. This is part of the journey. For those of us who have gotten to the point of real willingness to do the work, the real willingness, and it describes to do what? To hew to right principles in all of our affairs. And that word hew confused me a little bit. I didn't understand what hew was. I had to look it up. What's that?
Like whittle.
I like that one. When I looked up hew, it was to dig down deep as with a pickaxe. And so I have this mental image of going through the topsoil, right, taking a pickaxe and digging out a hole in through the grass and the topsoil and the gravel and the muck and the mire and the clay and the rocks to get to the root.
I think of it more as like whittling away at a raw block of wood. And all of a sudden, doves. After you whittle away at the excess and the unnecessary and all the stuff.
Well, a sculptor, I've heard that said, a sculptor says the image is inside this huge brick of marble, this 1-ton brick of marble. It's already in there. I'm just letting it out. I like that. I'm going to Google hew. I do a lot of Googling when I don't understand things, and it's not always the best way. Hew. Chop or cut something, especially wood or coal, with an axe, pick, or other tool. We have finished hauling and hewing timber. Make or shape something by cutting or chopping a material such as wood or stone. A seat hewn out of a fallen tree trunk. So those are exactly what we both just said.
Yes.
Yeah. It says right 3 times in that paragraph.
It does.
Who's right?
What's right?
I believe in this paragraph, he's referring to his power greater than himself. He calls that God. That it's his understanding, his current level of understanding of his higher power and what his higher power would have him do in terms of honesty, unselfishness, love, and purity.
So to me, would that mean best of our ability? Because I can't imagine, for me anyhow, my higher power, I can't imagine that my higher power will hold me to a standard that I was unaware of, incapable of, or...
You said some key words there, unaware. So if I don't know what the speed limit is, can I still get a speeding ticket?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Consequences of actions, but isn't that how we learn?
Yeah, exactly. So when he talks about right, whose right is he referring to? Is he referring to his right and what he's capable of?
I think that's all the only reference we have.
I disagree.
It says, and so. So almost like as a result of.
Yeah.
Right? Into easy, happy, and good living.
How to translate right mental conviction into right emotional result, and so into easy, happy living. Well, that's not only the neurotic's problem. So he's asking a question. Now he's gearing up. Well, that's not only the neurotic's problem, it's the problem of life itself for all of us who have gotten to the point of real willingness to hew to right principles in all of our affairs. So to dig to right principles. So right mental conviction, right emotional result. Well, we've got to hew, we've got to dig, we've got to whittle down to the right principles in all of our affairs. So is he talking about what he knows already or what he might be willing to learn?
Easy, I believe. I know, because I'm experiencing it. The easy, happy, good living. I'm living better than I was a year ago, 5 years ago. You know? And easy, happy, good living has come all along the way. It's not like I had to wait to be easy and happy
Where did all that come from
to
now?
some set. The hewing. No, the willingness. Because I'll tell you what, there's times I've known it and not hewed it.
Yeah, of course. Because it's us. We're stubborn.
Yes. I get twisted up when I start judging myself against some unknown standard that I'm unaware of. I got a litmus test in my own self.
So if everything I've ever known gets me to where I've been, is it what I know to be right that's going to get me anywhere? Or what I know is right is going to get me to where I've already been?
Well, I can sit back and Monday morning quarterback myself the whole way and say, man, I was living bad and wrong. Well, that might be my opinion of it since it felt like hell, but I can tell you what, it was a path paved right to where I'm at right now.
Indeed. So, to go forward in a new life, where are we going to get these ideals from? Where are we going to get these right principles from? Do they come from myself? Yeah.
I don't know where I'm at with all this.
It doesn't come from
But
me.
it seems like I'm the antenna, and it's the only place I'm getting my frickin' information. It's something more than what I've ever come up with.
So where's the broadcast coming from?
I don't know.
Okay.
But if I
perfect.
keep dickering over the broadcast and
Yeah.
not just discerning as it's coming through me how it feels, am I feeling easy? Am I feeling happy?
Yeah.
If I'm not taking those signals and adjusting to them by how I'm feeling first, knowing how I'm feeling and being aware of it instead of just plowing through to some goal line. If I'm paying attention to how I'm feeling as I'm going, I don't always got to wonder if where the broadcast is coming from. Is it the biggest broadcast out there? The discernment is coming through my antenna, so that's what I am going with.
I love it. The discernment is coming through your antenna. So where's that coming from?
I don't know.
Inside yourself or outside yourself? Is it coming through yourself? Because if I'm to really believe what I'm accepting is that the right answers were all inside of me all along, I've just covered them up with all the muck and mire and forgot about them, right? So the real job of this journey is to forget that everything that I think I know is right, so I can uncover what I'm supposed to do, right? Who I was supposed to be all along. It's all inside of me. But where's that coming from?
I use radio as my best metaphor throughout all of this, thinking back. In tune with. Like I am part of it, but my receiver is me. I don't know if it's a broadcast or just what's there, but I can feel on different levels whether I'm in tune with it or not. And my flags will pop up for myself. If I ain't sleeping right, if I'm not paying attention to the person I'm with because there's 10,000 other things going on. All my flags are in, I'm starting to be in tune with how I am feeling for the discernment of whether I'm in tune with whatever this bigger broadcast is. And I am part of it, but it turns on my insides. It's like when I get in tune and I'm in that flow, it's like my station comes in.
I met a guy who I could tell he was listening to the broadcast. I didn't know what I was looking at, but I could tell he was hearing it. I could see it. And he taught me what he did to listen to the broadcast, how to tune in the station. He taught me what he did. And so I wanted that. I want that. So I do what he does. How did I learn? Where did it come from? Well, it came through various sources, 1,000 points of light. I take lessons from thousands of different places, and they all culminate into a direction, right? If I'm open. It's me. I'm telling my story, not anybody else's. But for me, I guess what I'm getting to, we could look at an omnipotent being, king of the universe, master, of the realm, God, creator, father, goddess, father of light, king of the universe. We could. It has many names, and it helps my brain to imagine that it is watching over me. But where does it live? Where does this power greater than myself reside? And the more and more I follow this path, the more I realize it resides within me. That's its house. That's the structure in which it lives and works, is through me, through my third dimensional body, my meat sack, my transportation device, my cargo container. So whether I perceive it's coming from outside or inside, I'm right. I am correct. Whether I'm perceiving it comes from the stars in the universe, or the plants and animals, or within my very core, I am right, as long as I'm tuned in and listening. It doesn't matter where I think it's coming from. As long as I understand that that is a power greater than myself, because what myself did was dig a big old deep hole and jump down inside of it with the inability to get out. And I could not get out of the hole. So I met somebody. The universe put me in front of somebody who had climbed out of that same exact hole. He showed me what he did to get out of that hole, and then we stood at the top of the hole, but at the base of a mountain. And he said, "You want to see what's up there?" Yeah, I kind of do. This journey out of the hole, was really neat, but there's more. I knew it instantly. There's more. I don't just stand at the top of a hole. There's an entire mountain to climb. And everything that goes along with climbing a mountain, including not being ready to climb a mountain, having no equipment or the lungs or the knowledge to climb a mountain.
You climb and like,
Yeah.
scutter on down a little bit.
How often do I fall down the side of a mountain? And the answer is often.
And to me, the right or wrongness of it is you're not fucking home anymore.
The willingness to right principles in all of our affairs. So what are the right principles? I personally, I needed some guideposts because I didn't know, right? I covered up everything so neatly that I did not have any guideposts to that I would be able to use on this journey. So I was given the guideposts. I was given, I don't know what to do here. Okay, well, look off in you can look and see these guideposts. And I think of it back in my days of motorcycle racing. I'd do enduro races and hare scrambles, off-road stuff. We're in the middle of the woods, and I'd be lost. I'd lose the trail. It happened a lot because I wasn't that good at it. But I would lose the trail, and all I had to do was backtrack to where I saw. I could follow my tire marks through the mud back to where more tire marks were, and either follow those tire marks or look up and see, there was always an arrow within some type of visibility. Within a couple 100 yards, there would be an orange arrow pointing which direction to go: straight, left, right, up, down. It would tell me. It wouldn't do it for me, but it would tell me, come this way. So I had guideposts, and those end up being honesty, unselfishness, love, and purity, and the questions that go along with them. Those ended up being the guideposts that I would forget to use for quite a while, and then only recently be reminded of those, right? So I get the tools, and then I put them in the bottom of the knapsack and forget all about them.
Quit forgetters.
And then I'm climbing a sheer ice cliff, and I'm wondering why I keep falling. Oh, I didn't take out my ice shoes and my ice picks and my gloves, my mittens to keep my hands warm, by the way. I forgot all about these tools. So to right principles in all of our affairs, I had no idea what that meant. I need guideposts. How should I behave? How should I act? Come to find out, I knew this stuff already. I had just forgotten it all. I needed a reminder. Because I've always known right and wrong, true and false. I've always known when I was really hurting somebody. I've always known if it was a disgusting, terrible thing to do or not. But for often, I would choose the wrong way, the false way, to take advantage of somebody.
It didn't feel good.
I would choose those things.
Yeah.
And I didn't know why. I just faulty programming. I had covered up the answers. I'd covered up the knowledge with false knowledge, with, I don't know, worldly material goods, greed, lust.
Short-sightedness.
Yeah,
Not past the moment of immediate reward.
yeah.
Consequences.
Does it really matter where they come from, as long as they come? It's a higher power of my own understanding, not yours, not theirs.
I like the term higher power of my misunderstanding.
There you go.
I like that.
There's a guy that I talk with, and he does not like words associated with higher powers. He does not like those words. So what he uses, and I think it's wonderful, is something somewhere doing something for me that I can't do. And that's where he is. That's his level of understanding, and I love it. You know why? Because he has a level of understanding. He might be more on track than I am. I'm just where my understanding is. That's all. I'm taught not to compare myself with you or anyone else. The only measuring stick for where I'm at is where was I yesterday. That's the only measuring stick. The rest of it's all false and made up and destructive. Even then, as we hew away, peace and joy may still elude us. That's the place so many of us AA oldsters have come to, and it's a hell of a spot, literally. How shall our unconscious, from which so many of our fears, compulsions, and phony aspirations still stream, be brought into line with what we actually believe, know, and want? How to convince our dumb, raging, and hidden Mr. Hyde becomes our main task.
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
So it's telling me here that even as I dig, even as I learn, even as I try to learn this new path, or the path that I had veered from, that I may not, I'm not going to be happy all the time. In fact, I'm going to be downright pissed off sometimes, miserable, angry, mad. And it's normally because I'm throwing a temper tantrum because I think I know what's right. I think I know what I want. And we've experienced that, is when I'm disturbed. When I become disturbed, I am being trained to stop
That'll do it.
and figure out what I'm afraid of. And I don't like being afraid of nothing,
Have a good day.
You?
Thank you.
right? So I carry guns and knives and all kinds of stuff. Well, I'm not afraid of nothing. Oh yeah? Why are you carrying 2 guns? What are you afraid of? And that was a hard realization, that for me to the actualization that I was actually afraid all the time of everybody and everything, just constant fear. And how would I know what I don't know? If I've been living in a world of fear since 2 years old, how would I know any different? And that led me to forgiveness. I get to forgive myself for these things because I didn't know. How would I know what I don't know?
I think that's a slip we can get into with our understandings now. Monday morning quarterbacking ourselves. I know it's one I fell into. More than once. I can still get there. I recognize it sooner. Judging myself for ways that I reacted, and the big ones for me are the ones that I did not react to. But judging myself with what I know now and my abilities now as compared to the reality of the age I was at and doing the best I could with what I had at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so that judgment, I found it a lot easier to forgive others than it is myself. That's the one where I'm still working on, forgiving myself.
So in this journey that we're reading about right now, and getting there actually to the work, we're just talking about the descriptors now of the journey. We'll get to the journey in a moment.
That's assuming that there's a goal instead of every bit of it being the healing.
Totally got distracted. Maybe I need to be. What was I about to say? Mm-hmm. Forgiveness of self. The very first time that occurred was as I was doing this journey, and I'll get more into it as we read, when I made it back to 2 years old, and I relived that very first remembrance, the very first cognitive memory of when I relived it, that traumatic event, and was there. I was there. I was 2. I was there. I was wearing diapers. My brother was there. My mom was there. We're there. And it happens. And I finally realized that I can't look at this event as an adult. I need to look at it as a child, live it as a child through a child's point of view. And then realize that in the moment, everything that everybody did, they were doing the best they could. That they didn't intend for this to happen. That everybody was doing the best they could. And since then, I have lived a life of utilizing what I learned in those moments. When I would get angry enough, I would behave exactly as I was taught when I was 2. And I had shared that exact same experience with my daughter when she was about 2 or 3. Realizing in that moment that everybody was doing the best they could and learning to forgive them because they were doing the best they could. The people in that instance didn't invent the anger and rage which was shared with me. They didn't invent it. So how'd they get it? Well, somebody gave it to them. And those people didn't invent it. Somebody gave it to them, and somebody gave it to them. Generational curse. So it was gifted to me, this generational curse, and I carried it and used it and refined it to serve me the best way that I knew how, which wasn't very well. So in that moment, time traveling back to 2 years old and reliving those moments and learning how to forgive everybody involved, and then the epiphany that how can I be so angry at myself for these things that I've done, because that's all I've ever known. That's the best I had. I got to forgive myself for my behavior throughout my entire life. I still had amends to make. I'd still wronged other people. But I got to start forgiving myself because I finally realized I was just doing what I was utilizing the tools that I thought were the best tools for the job. I got to start forgiving myself for everything I've ever done out of fear, as long as I'm willing to learn a new way. That's the other side of the coin when it comes to forgiveness. I am forgiven. I can forgive myself. Just don't do it anymore. Well, how do I not do it anymore? Learn a new way. Or remember the right way. That's my experience.
There's not always trail markers, like go this direction. Many times, even praying for direction, asking for direction, using these tools, talking to my sober support, bringing it up in meetings, praying, and realize there are times that there are not. It's not always a trailblazed path already.
Blinking sign.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just utilizing the direction I know not to do. Did not work out. The tools not to use.
Opposite world.
And for me, naturally looking for the least traveled path through the woods. Like if it was I'm like, I'm like, I may get through there, go. I naturally do that.
Yeah.
And that like literally I naturally do that in the woods. And I realize I naturally do that in my life. Because I like a challenge. So sometimes in those situations, still asking and getting feedback, because it does help with what directions I'm always happy to have, like a lit runway. At least say this direction. A lot of times I got to go with what I know not to do and just move forward the best I can with what I've got.
It surprises me that you're looking for a lit runway. Someone who does not want to take the path most traveled.
Oh, there's times when it's so many decisions. It's like being in the bread aisle and there's 20 freaking kinds of bread. It's like, just let there be 3, and I can do eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Yeah.
Because I can get caught up in the details.
Mm-hmm.
And I realize that about myself. I can get into analysis paralysis, especially when things started opening up and realizing I have choices and options.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, because I'm quite capable. I was quite capable, amazingly so, totally messed up. That's why I laughed today. After the booze cure, I realized I can get into depression, as this is all talking about, with analysis paralysis. getting through those humps with the emotional undercurrents that I didn't realize. But yeah, analysis paralysis.
Yeah. The guideposts that I was shown, you were talking about getting lost, not having the markers, not being shown the way. And I have found myself many times on my knees saying, "What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do?" And it's silence. "Why won't you talk to me?" And it turns out I already had the tools, which is why you already got it. You don't need to hear from me. Figure it out. You've got the tools. If I keep telling you which tools to use, how are you going to know which tools to use when you really need them? And it was those tools that I had been given in the very beginning,
Anything else in?
and then I'd put in the bottom of the knapsack. And it was
Have a good
honesty,
day.
You too.
Thank
is
you.
it true or false? Unselfishness, how will this affect the other fellow? Love, is it ugly or beautiful? And purity, is it right or wrong? Or true or false. One of them's honesty is true or false, purity is right or wrong. And it turns out I know the answer to those questions. It's just not what I want to hear all the time. I know. I know what to do next. I just don't always like it. And there comes myself.
When you said that, I don't know if I always like it. I don't know if in that moment when it clicks, it's a like it or not.
Okay.
It's the fireworks that happens after the click. Then get into analysis paralysis. Because the questioning comes after the click.
Is it possible that I don't like what I'm seeing, so I'll go into analysis paralysis as my method?
I guess that's possible. One to think on for myself. My analysis paralysis seems to be, it clicks over quick for me if I don't like it.
Well, analytics are one of your attributes. It's
Yes,
one of your skills.
and that comes when things are like the too many options.
Yeah.
When they're all looking, everything's looking shiny.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't want to mess this up. Why mess with something if it ain't broke?
What if there are several
Like, I'll
right
just sit
options?
here.
Yeah. What if there are several right options?
Yeah.
And why does it have to be right or wrong?
I just like efficiency and effectiveness, so.
Yeah, I get it. I saw an epiphany happen just now.
I did.
You care to share?
I guess that's if I'm getting bent out of shape over outcomes.
Predictable outcomes?
Yes, I do like odds.
I think that's a very good description of our dumb, raging, hidden Mr. Hyde. Mm-hmm. The control.
Oh, yeah.
You know, when I'm getting my way, I'm a very serene, smooth individual. When I'm not getting my way, can I be a monster? Or a version of. You know, I believe in this instance he's talking about, Mr. Hyde, when somebody who becomes an angry drunk, right? Maybe they're nice, they're quite reasonable, quite talented as a sober individual. Give them some drinks and they become very antisocial and angry and combative. Maybe that's how we feel. Maybe when I let out that Mr. Hyde, and the Dr. Jekyll takes a few drinks, and what's really going on inside comes out. And then there comes a point where my body's just not processing, alcohol very well anymore, and I develop this allergy, which creates a whole new issue, allergic reactions and such. It's not quite the point of this letter, just an observation.
Yeah, and I get the allergy thing, but I know the raging was with or without it in my system. I think I self-medicated. It was my solution.
Indeed.
In the undercurrent, this emotional sobriety it talks about here, the unconscious, from which so many fears, compulsions, and phony aspirations still stream, which leads up, society learned, taught what we think we ought to. Why do we want what we want? Acceptance and prestige and all those things of getting the accumulations and acceptance boils down to me. To be brought into line with what we actually believe, know, and want. I had to find out what I actually believe.
Mm-hmm.
what I knew and didn't know, what I thought I know and didn't,
Isn't
and
that,
what I actually wanted, because my wants were wrapped around being accepted also.
wasn't that what I actually believe? Isn't that a constant evolutionary process?
Yes.
Yeah. And I fool myself into thinking I know everything because I'll do that.
Well, don't we know the accumulation of everything we know?
Right.
It's just keeping that beginner's mind and that open minded that there is more that can evolve what my foundation is right now.
Kind of like a tomato plant.
Yeah.
If I'm green, I'm growing. If I'm grown, I'm rotting.
Yeah. Yeah. In the back of a book in Spiritual Experience, it says contempt prior to investigation. And that's a surefire way to keep ourselves in everlasting ignorance.
Yep. That will work.
I remember writing in there, thinking I know. And I can know some things, but being open to adding to or detracting from things that I did know at the time were very useful and applied at the time may not always apply. There's no constant to it. There's not an always to it. It will adjust and evolve as we go, because anything growing isn't stagnant. Just like a tomato plant, it starts looking like all of us. Our bodies change, it changes. So that's our main task, to convince our dumb, raging, hidden hide. So to me, that's that unconscious fear, compulsion, and phony aspirations.
Thank you for joining us on this journey through the letter Emotional Sobriety. We're not yet halfway through. We'd love to hear your thoughts and comments. Please feel free to comment down below. And if you found something valuable here, consider liking and subscribing, and maybe sharing this with someone that you believe it could speak to. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for being here.